Good morning, welcome as we try to take you through the EB-4 visa. So we shall be looking at EB-4 visa, types of EB-4 visa, what type of visa is it? Is it a worth pathway for you to try to come to the US? Eligibility for EB-4 visa, requirement for EB-4 visa, and duration for EB-4 visa. Not only that, but we shall also cover some of the frequently asked questions for EB-4 visa in 2025 as a pathway to come to the US. Therefore, stick around as we take you through this particular report on EB-4 visa, pathway to migrate to the US. Now, introduction to EB-4 visa. The EB-4 visa is a unique immigrant visa category that allows certain individuals to become lawful permanent resident. When you talk about lawful permanent resident, then we are saying you become a green card holder of the United States. This visa is designated for foreign nationals who have specific employment or service-related qualification, including religious workers, special immigrant juveniles, certain international organization employees, and other eligible individuals. The EB-4 visa is one of the 5 types of employment-based immigrant visas in the United States, and it provides a pathway for people from various professional backgrounds to migrate to the US. So this is also another alternative type of visa that can help you to migrate to the United States of America in the year 2025. Therefore, stick around as we try to break it down for you. Now, types of EB-4 visa. EB-4 visa include several subcategories, each of which applies to specific individuals based on their qualification and circumstances. So the primary types of EB-4 visas are, number 1, religious workers, under what you are calling R1 visa. This subcategory is for individuals who have been working for at least 2 years as a religious worker, minister, missionary, or religious professional and are seeking to immigrate to the US to continue such work. Therefore, they go for what you are calling what? R1 visa. Special immigrant juveniles, SIJ. This category is for children under the age of 21 who have been abused, neglected, or abandoned by their parents and who seek to immigrate to the US for their safety and welfare. Then they will use what you're calling what? Special immigrant juveniles. Certain international organization employees, individuals who have worked for a qualifying international organization and are eligible for special immigrant status, then they can use what you're calling what? Certain international organization employees. Afghan and Iraq nationals. This category applies to Afghan or Iraq nationals who worked for the US government or in support of US operations abroad, including as translators, interpreters, or contractors. They are allowed to come to the United States through this particular pathway. Retired employees of international organization. Former employees of international organization who held senior level positions and wish to migrate to the US may also apply for an EB-4 visa. Other special immigrants, certain other individuals such as former employees of the US government abroad can qualify under this subcategory. Eligibility for EB-4 visa. What do they look at for them to say you are eligible for this particular visa? Number 1, what you are calling some of the requirements for the EB-4 visa vary depending on the specific subcategory under which an individual is applying. However, some general eligibility criteria apply to most applicants. For religious workers, that is the first one. If you are a religious worker, the applicant must have at least 2 years of experience working as a religious worker prior to applying. The applicant must be coming to the US to work for a religious organization in a full-time capacity. The sponsoring organization must be an non-profit religious organization. Second, eligibility for special immigrant juveniles. The applicant must be under the age of 21 years old. The applicant must have been declared dependent by a U.S. court or placed under the custody of a state agency. The applicant must be eligible for protection due to abuse, abandonment, or neglect by one or both parents. For Afghan and Iraq nationals, the applicant must have worked for the U.S. government or a U.S. contractor in Iraq or Afghanistan for at least 1 year. The applicant must have faced or feared persecution for their employment and must meet the special criteria set for this particular category. For certain international organization employees, the applicant must have worked for a qualifying international organization in the US or abroad. The applicant must also meet specific employment duration requirements and other conditions. So those are the 4 eligibility criteria for EB-4 visas. Now, requirement for EB-4, petition. A petition must be filed on behalf of the applicant by an employer or the individual themselves in some cases, depending on the subcategory. Proof of qualification. Applicants must provide documentation showing they meet the requirement for their specific subcategory. For example, religious workers must provide evidence of prior religious work, and special immigrant juveniles must provide evidence of their dependency or abuse. Form I-360. Most EB-4 applicants must file Form I-360 petition for a Malaysian, widow or special immigrant with the United States Citizenship and Immigrant Services. Medical examination. Applicants may need to undergo a medical exam to ensure they meet the U.S. health standard for immigration. Visa application. After the I-360 petition is approved, applicant must apply for a visa at the U.S. consulate or embassy in their home country. Background checks. Applicants will undergo security and background checks to assess their admissibility to the U.S. Duration for EB-4 visa. How long does it take? The EB-4 visa allows for permanent resident status, a green card in the U.S. upon approval. The applicant receives a green card, which is typically valid for 10 years and can be renewed indefinitely as long as the individual maintains their lawful status and a resident in the U.S. Special immigrant juveniles may be granted conditional permanent residence if they are under 21 and are required to file a petition to remove conditions on their permanent residency. What are some of the frequently asked questions for EB-4 visa in 2025? What is the processing time for an EB-4 visa? Processing times can vary depending on the applicant's specific subcategory. The USCIS Service Center handling the case and the applicant's country of origin. On average, the process takes between 12 and 18 months, but it may be longer in some cases. Can an EB-4 visa holder apply for U.S. citizenship? Yes, an EB-4 visa holder can apply for U.S. citizenship through naturalization process after holding green card for at least 5 years. What are the fees associated with the EB-4 visa? The filing fee for Form I-360 is typically around $435, but additional fees may apply for the visa application, medical examination, and other related processes. Can I bring my family with me on EB-4 visa? Yes, EB-4 visa holders can include the spouse and unmarried children under the age of 21 as dependents. They can apply for their own green cards as part of the process. What happens if my EB-4 visa petition is denied? If your petition is denied, you will receive an explanation from USCIS. You may be able to appeal the decision or reapply if you can correct any deficiencies in your application. Can I change jobs while on EB-4 visa? It depends on the specific EB-4 subcategory. For example, religious workers must work for the organization that sponsored their petition. Other categories may allow more flexibility if the applicant is eligible under a different employer or situation. Are there annual caps on EB-4 visas? Yes, there are annual caps on the number of EB-4 visas issued, especially for certain categories like Afghan and Iraq nationals. Applicants may experience delays if the cap is reached for their category. EB-4 visa provides valuable pathway for individuals who meet specific criteria such as religious workers, special immigrant juveniles, or employees of international organizations to migrate to the US. It offers an opportunity to become a lawful permanent resident, and the eligibility and requirement vary depending on the applicant's category. By understanding the process, applicants can better navigate the requirements and increase their chances of success. If you are interested in pursuing EB-4 visa, it is advisable to consult an immigration lawyer who can guide you through the complex application process and help ensure that you meet all the necessary requirements before applying. We believe with this in mind, it will help you quite a long way for you to plan, organize, but then before you start doing anything, ensure you meet with a lawyer, discuss the possibilities, and see what are your chances of succeeding whenever you submit in your papers. For us, remember to hit the subscription button, like, comment, share, and we will really appreciate it. Thank you so much.